the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavallaey. Today we will be previewing Milan against Liverpool in the Champions League, the first match day of the new Champions League season. The game taking place on Tuesday, the 17th of September at San Siro. If you want to see our full preview of the new Serie A season, going through all the Italian clubs, all their opponents, looking at their squads, their probable 11s, breaking it all down and giving our predictions of how the Italian teams will do and also the tournament in general, then go to any of our podcast apps or go onto our YouTube page where you can actually watch us do the show. And you'll get everything in detail. And you will also explain the new format of the Champions League, which has changed, been revolutionised this season, with each team in a 36-team group and each team playing 8 matches rather than 6 matches against 8 different opponents. Now, the first of these opponents for Milan is against Liverpool at San Siro, in a game that's been such a huge game in the history of Milan and Liverpool. And we're going to talk about some of the key talking points from this game. Nima, first of all, from Milan's point of view, and we're recording this before their Serie A game against Venezia, which will be match day 4 of Serie A. It's been a disastrous start to the season for Milan. 2 points from 3 games in Serie A. Trouble off the pitch as well in the dressing room with the infamous Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez refusing, it seems, to join the rest of the team in a cooling break during the draw against Lazio in Rome. So Nima, Liverpool go into this game with a lot of pressure on them, and also with Paulo Fonseca, the new manager who was only appointed this summer, under a lot of pressure himself.
Well, yes, and I think the biggest problem for me is Milan look disjointed defensively. 6 goals conceded, 2 in each game. And they look confused. And against Lazio, when they looked good, had a good first half, then they just, they fell apart and they looked like the wheels came off. And that's not a good sign. But then again, look, we've seen this particular group of Milan players, albeit under a different coach, Pioli, react when their back is against the wall in the Champions League. So I think that's what Milan fans and Milan are hoping for, or the Milan contingent are hoping for, that they turn up with a point to prove. And they are at home. The San Siro is a magical place. European nights, evening games at the San Siro. We've seen both Inter and Milan produce magical nights there. So yeah, it's one of those. Milan will be hoping that the crowd will help them to try to get a result here against Liverpool. And let's remember, if they were to do that, I mean, it's the when you start off as poorly as Milan have, and there's this talk of internal disagreements and stuff like that. A big win or a big result can kind of change all of that mentally and put you in a positive spin or in a positive space mentally. So
the flip side to that, Nima, is if they lose, then Fonseca could really be at risk. There has been reports in the Italian media, Sky Sport Italia, that if Milan were to lose this game against Liverpool, they then play Inter in the derby a few days later after that. And if they were to lose to that, and I think everybody would make Inter favourites for that game right now. You lose these 2 games, and then all of a sudden, I think Fonseca definitely is going to be at risk. His job is going to be talked about at the very least. That should he be sacked or will he be sacked? So there is a lot on this game. The positive side of things from Milan is that I think they got a good draw. If I'm honest with you, yes, they've got 3 tough opponents, including Liverpool, Madrid, and Leverkusen, but they've also got games against teams that should be, let's say, easy opponents. If we're talking about Champions League level, Red Star Belgrade, Dinamo Zagreb, Slovan Bratislava, those 3 are almost gimmies. Club Brugge as well. You're not going to get a much better opponent in a Champions League than them. And then even Girona, who have sold a lot of players in the summer, lost all most of their best players in the summer at home at San Siro. I think you're looking at 4 to 5 opponents that for that reason, I'm expecting anything less than qualification as a big failure for Milan.
Oh, no doubt. You talk to any Milan fan, you talk to anyone at Milan, and them not qualifying from the group would be a disaster. I don't think anyone
particular
would.
with this group. That's what I mean. Like given the draw, but obviously Liverpool is a tough one. If we're looking at the injury list for both teams, I mean, Morata missed the second and third games of the Serie A season, but he should be back. He's back in training as we record ahead of the Venezia game. Malik Thiaw had an ankle sprain, but he is expected to be back certainly in time for the Liverpool game, if not for the Venezia game. And then Florenzi, of course, out for the season with an ACL, and Marco Sportiello, who's only a backup keeper anyway, he's out for 2 months with a hand injury. As for Liverpool, Federico Chiesa, of course, signed from Juventus from Serie A, is probably, I don't think, will play in this game. At the most, he might get an appearance off the bench because he hasn't played. He didn't play all summer, and he's been built up on a special training regime. So I don't think we'll see much of him. Alexis McAllister, as we're recording, we're waiting for news on how serious his injury is. But if it is a muscle injury for Argentina, then we're looking at him probably being a doubt. And then Curtis Jones could be fit, could be back from injury. So that's the injury situation with Liverpool. Liverpool made a very, very good start to the season, won their first 3 games and looked really good under their new coach, Arne Slot. Obviously, big question marks for them after, having to lose and replace such a huge figure like Jurgen Klopp. He's like a Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger type figure. Usually it's difficult for managers succeeding these kind of huge figures, huge personalities. He's done really well so far. They've played really well. They've looked really good. So it's going to be a very difficult game for Milan. If we look at the probable 11s, I mean, Milan 4-2-3-1 under Fonseca. We're looking at probably Mike Maignan in goal, then Emerson or Calabria at right back, Tomori and Pavlovic. St. Pavlovic has started really well for Milan, so you'd think those two would be there, or if not, Thiaw could come in instead of Pavlovic, maybe. Teo Hernandez at left back. Then the 2 centre midfielders, we're probably looking at Reinders and Fofana. And then the 3 trequartisti, we're looking at Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek and Rafael Leao, and then Alvaro Morata in attack. As for Liverpool's probable 11, we're looking again at a 4-2-3-1. Alisson in goal, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson should pick itself. Gravenberch and McAllister if he's fit. If not, it will be Endo or probably Jones if he's fit enough. Jones is fit enough. And then the 3 trequartisti, we're looking at Salah, Szoboszlai and Diaz, and then Jota up front. That's probably what we're looking at, unless Liverpool choose to make some slight rotations for the game. Where the game will be won and lost, Nima. I think, just to start off with, my first one's got to stop Salah and Diaz on the wing, because I've watched all of Liverpool's games so far this season. Those two have been outstanding, especially Luis Diaz, who looks like he's really finally exploded as a real world-class winger. What we've seen of him, he's been unstoppable so far this season, just going past players for fun and finally bringing that end product to him. So I think those two on the wings are the key.
One thing, though, that I think is interesting is that Diaz beats his man, doesn't he? Like, he goes on the outside as well. Whilst Salah, to me, is more... He starts from the wing, but he cuts in the middle. And those perfectly timed runs and his finishing, his trademark finishing, that makes it quite... you have to stop the balls reaching them in certain positions. Meaning... they're going to get the ball, but you rather them get the ball with their backs against the goal or them pushed out in safe zones, not having them receiving the ball when finding space and attacking from behind. That is just going to cause chaos in the Milan defense. So I think Milan need to be very careful here, and they have to take a cautious approach. I think Liverpool do have weaknesses on the wings, because I think Trent, Robertson, Salah, Diaz, they don't exactly defend that much. And if you can win the ball high up, there is space to hurt them. And Rafael Leao is fantastically quick. He could really have fun if Fonseca gets his formation right, and if he gets the balance right and the tactics right. I think there's quite a bit of damage to do on this Liverpool side.
Yeah, I think Leao against Trent is the obvious one because we know that Trent, brilliant, world class in possession with the ball.
His
But
positioning is awful.
But yeah, he can't defend, and he can't defend 1-on-1 at all, and that's what Leao's strongest at. So I think that is they need to find a way to
I think
isolate
yeah,
Trent 1-on-1.
absolutely, and I think Morata's going to be key. This is good to have a player like Morata because he's so dynamic and his movement and pressing and intelligent. He will help out. There'll be a lot of positional shifts. Where I think Morata will drop down deep to try to create spaces in behind for Leao, Loftus-Cheek and Pulisic to run. And even Reinders, who I think is a very, very good player and very underrated. So, no, I think that there are opportunities for Liverpool, but of course, Milan, but of course Liverpool are favourites. There's no doubt.
Yeah, Liverpool are favourites. The only other thing I would say that potentially could be a weak point for Liverpool is the centre midfield. If McAllister's out, I think McAllister is such an underrated player, one of the most underrated players in Europe. I think brilliant player positionally. I think
he's also very underrated. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, superb. I think that you take him out of the team, that centre midfield suddenly looks a lot weaker for me, especially if you're bringing in an Ender or a Jones. And Gravenberch has been good so far this season, but I think take McAllister out. Do you have the same level of player? So I think that could be, we'll see how fit McAllister is, but that could be huge. But yeah, prediction time, Nima. Prediction time.
I think Milan will get a result because I think they will get it together. I think the international break where people have had some time to cool off and, think about things. And I think the communication afterwards as well with like the way that Theo spoke about it and the way that Milan have handled it. There's no drama. We're all united. Like, I do think that they want to show pride, and regardless of the problems they've had on or off the pitch, I think Milan will want to show pride. I just hope for Milan's sake that they turn up and produce 90 good quality minutes, even if they lose, that they do so by showing something. You know what I mean? Like something to believe in for fans, that actually we might have gone up against one of the best teams in Europe or one of the team that's better than us and we lost, but we lost fighting. There was something to build on from that game, if you know what I mean.
No, I agree. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 or 2-2. I think also.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I'm thinking 1-1 draw or a 2-1 Milan win.
I think that also the Milan players, certainly likes of Leao, Theo, Hernandez, will raise themselves to the big occasion.
Absolutely.
Under the bright lights. So yeah, there we have it. That's Milan against Liverpool preview. Do check out our other previews for match day 1. We're doing one on Man City versus Inter, and we're also doing a special preview of Atalanta against Arsenal. And once again, do check out our full preview of the new Champions League season as a whole, as the tournament as a whole. Check that out on our podcast apps or on our
YouTube page.
Yeah. Ciao.